So hi everyone. Thank you for watching. This is Paul's Put the Kettle On. This is series 1, episode 3, and our special guest today is Nick Milsom. Used to go to school with him. Weren't relatively close, but a couple of years older than I was, and he wanted to come on and share his mental health experiences with us today. So obviously, warm welcome to Nick. Thank you for joining us. Nick, just give us a bit of background of your mental health experiences.
Yeah, sure. Thank you for having us, guys. Really appreciate it. Watching both videos, doing brilliant work, so well done. Started from an early age, really. When I was 3, I was diagnosed with quite aggressive form of leukemia and wasn't given too much of a bigger chance of survival, about 30% if I remember rightly. A lot of intense, destructive treatment, went through chemo, radiotherapy, blood transfusions, total body irradiation, along with many other different treatments. Luckily made it out. Had a lot of good doctors around me, good people to help, so really, really happy that happened. A lot of side effects from the treatment, though, unfortunately, main of which my height was very much affected. You probably can't tell, anyone who doesn't know me, but I'm only 5 foot tall. So that was very much affected. Had to go through a lot of steroid treatment and take growth hormone every day injected for about 5 years throughout secondary school. My eyesight was affected. I had cataracts in both of my eyes, and I've had 2 operations on each eye to rectify that as well. Along with many more different side effects as well, which we can get into a little bit later if you want to go further deep into it. At the age of 15, just before I started year 11 as well, unfortunately I lost my dad to cancer as well. He had a brain tumor. So yeah, just from there, everything just put together has been fairly difficult. That's pretty much where I'm at the moment. And then just going into adult life, it's just affects you more and more, and the more you think about stuff. And with the height growing up, it's affected you more and more because everyone's getting so much taller than you. That is going to be noticeable.
Yeah, Nick, like Ross said, really appreciate you coming on. So thanks for coming on, and obviously nice to meet you. One of the things you said there, obviously you've touched on your kind of earlier experiences, and then you mentioned about the fact that you've lost your dad. That's something that I also suffered. I think I was 20 when my dad passed away. So if you're happy to, can you tell us a little bit more about what that was like? Your feelings at the time obviously would have been a difficult time for you, and kind of how you coped with it. And, did you have anyone that you could reach out to for support?
At the time when, he kind of sort of lost feeling in his arm. He sort of dropped things with the left side of his arm, I think it was. So my mum took him in to get checks. Being 15 at the time, so naive to the situation, I didn't really know too much of what was going on. When he was fully diagnosed, when he told us, he kind of put it in a way that he was like, I'll be all right, don't worry about it. And I sort of fully believed that. So I was like, all right, he's going to be fine, don't worry. It's not going to be a problem. Obviously, when his treatment got worse and worse, when he would maybe be in front of us and he would start tearing up or crying, he would say, it's just a medication, don't worry, it's not me, everything's fine. And again, I believe him. So looking back like that, and I was like, come on, Nick, like, why didn't you recognize this? Like, he's probably trying to reach out for help, maybe wanted a hug, maybe wanted a conversation. I didn't recognize that at the time, I just didn't know. I never thought anything would happen to him. Like, he told me everything was going to be all right. So I was like, okay, I believe you. Then he progressively got worse, was taken into hospital, completely left, couldn't walk. Doctors coming in all the time to help. He was held up at North Downs Hospital in Caterham. Then it got to a worse and worse stage. And I think I was coming home I was with my mates playing golf or something at the time. And my brother had already been told earlier on in the day, and she sat me down and she said, he's actually not going to make it. And I was like, what? Like, everything's cool. Like, he said everything's fine. Like, what are you on about? So yeah, that hit me. That hit us hard. From being told to when he actually did pass away was probably about a couple of months. So when we went to see him, some days he had deteriorated a lot. Some days he was perky, he was up, he was asking us to go and get him a burger and chips. And I was like, this is not right. Like, how is he so chirpy one day, and how is he, like, doctors have got it wrong, surely. Nothing's going to happen. But obviously it got worse and worse, and he was told he might have had weeks, days left. The day come, I was fairly prepared for it because I've got my head around what was going to happen. That person lying in that bed anymore, as bad as it is to say, that wasn't my dad. That wasn't the person that I come to know. That wasn't something that I wanted to keep in my life at the time. Going to see him was difficult. But again, when I went to see him, I used to go 3-4 days without seeing him. I didn't think anything was going to happen to him. I was 15 and naive. Looking back, I'm quite angry at myself at the way I acted. Like, the way he was and the position that he was, like, he was laying in a hospital bed all by himself, probably bored out of his mind, got doctors helping him out with certain things. But yeah, just when it comes to it, it was more of a relief when he had to let go. Just hard, just horrible to deal with. And following that, being the age that I was, the comments that you'd receive from your friends, from your family, especially when you go back to school more or less a week or 2 weeks after, a few people know, a few people don't. But being kids, they probably would have found it difficult to approach me about it. So no one really mentioned it. No one really said anything. So I kind of had to just put it to the back of my mind and then go back to normal school life. Go back to doing your lessons, you're mucking about with your friends, you're playing football, you're doing what you need to do. And then didn't really address it. Nothing really got said. You kind of find out who your really true friends are in school, because they would maybe ring you after school, text you. But then you get obviously the people that sort of say, I need you. If you need me, I'm here, which you kind of really don't want to hear because it's not really true. Like, they're probably not going to be there for you, so please don't say it. Yeah, obviously I'm close with my mum, I'm close with my brother. They were really, really helpful. Had to try and get back to normal life, try and get back on my feet as quick as possible, because that's the only thing you really can do. Like, try and not turn to anything destructive that's going to make anything worse. Just try and live your life as normal as you can. The day after, I went and played my football match, and we went and watched Brazil-Argentina at the Emirates. I was having a great time that day. But yeah, just awful situation.
Yeah, obviously, I couldn't even think to what you were going through, especially when you were that young. I just want to touch on school life in terms of, I know you briefly mentioned it, in terms of when you started to go through sixth form, etc. Did anything change in terms of the way you were feeling towards it? Did you seek any help, or was it just family orientated and friends, or you just kept it to yourself?
I would open up to the people that I thought might care the most. I had a really tight-knit group of friends in sixth form, who I'd speak to, who I may have known from school life or may have got really good friends with in sixth form. I did open up to them. My family, I was always opening up to them. I've never been afraid of talking about it. If someone were to ask me, I wouldn't hold back. I'll tell the full story. And just, yeah, through sixth form, again, because it happened maybe a year or two ago, people probably wouldn't talk about it. It'd just be, he's all right, he seems fine, leave it. So, but obviously, when you go home at night, it's a different story. When you're struggling with certain things, you need someone like that around to help you. But yeah, you just need nothing really happened. Really, just brushed under the carpet, carry on as each day as it goes. Really.
Nick, in terms of, I know this may be quite difficult to describe, and obviously talk as much as you would like to about this, but can you kind of remember some of the common feelings you would get at that time? Was it difficult to get out of bed in the morning? And again, also, what sort of support system did you have around you at that time to help you cope?
Didn't really find it too hard to get out of bed in the morning. I think I was fine with that. There's kind of feelings that I had at the time was a fair bit of anger, maybe. You may see things going on around you, see people not treating themselves with respect, treating their body with respect, trying not to be healthy, and just think, well, hold on, my dad treated himself right, how come he's got and nothing's happening to you, sort of thing. Like, sort of like anger come out with that. The support network at home was fine. We used to talk about my dad quite a fair bit, my brother and my mum. My grandparents helped as well. They were always there to have a good word with, try and call up whenever you'd like to. A few friends at school, not a lot of friends would speak about it. Yeah, it wasn't really touched on much at school or anything like that. No, really.
Obviously, Nick, what you've been through is obviously, and for even you to come on here and basically share this with us is massive, and you should be proud of yourself. I just wanted to touch on leukemia. I know it's a raw subject, but in terms of when you were growing up, obviously you said you had your operations, etc. How did it affect you growing up in terms of school, job, etc.?
So having it from an early age, with all the different treatments. So when I was in primary school, because of the treatments that I had, was a lot of steroid-based treatment, which makes you put on weight. And being a kid in primary school, I was actually quite chubby. So I was teased with that from primary school, which made me move schools to Wera School, which I was actually really happy at. But going into year 7, when year 7 hits, it's a massive jump from primary school. Everyone's growing up. I stopped growing when I was about 12, 13 years old. So everyone shot up. I'm still like down the bottom. When you get to year 11, you've got year 7s that look down on you, and it's quite sort of demoralizing. Yeah, just there's a lot of different sort of side effects with treatment. You had to sit close to the board at school because I couldn't see. Because my eyesight was very much affected, so you couldn't sit with your friends at the back sometimes. Like going into adult life, I've been told that potentially because of how destructive my treatment was, I might not be able to have kids. Yeah, it's just they're the main sort of 3 that I've been sort of having to grow up, deal with. Whenever I've been quite comfortable talking about it because I've always felt I've had to explain myself. Like whenever I'd be around my brother, he's a foot taller than me. Everyone will be like, "Oh, what's happened to you?" And I'll have to explain it. Or if I'm playing football, the small right back or the small winger or something like that, you're always known as that. You always have to kind of explain yourself, and people might use that as to target you as well. And you always have to sort of like hold your own, prove yourself time and time again to say like, no, don't. I'm small, but I can still compete with you. I can still do the same things as you. Just please don't sort of talk to me in that way, because yeah, that's difficult to deal with sometimes.
And Nick, did you at this time, when you've obviously been on this journey, one, did you seek any sort of professional help? And the second part of my question would be, having been through what you've been through, what would your advice be to maybe, a young guy now or a young woman who's going through, similar feelings right now, maybe had a similar experience? What advice would you give to them?
Yeah, so I've had 2 rounds of CBT treatment. The first time I had it, I think this was when I was about 6-7 years ago now, I believe. I think I may have had between about 10 and 12 sessions, something like that. I wanted to give it a full go and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going at it, just to see if anything did come from it. But personally, I don't feel it helped me, because I don't feel the person who was doing my sessions kind of knew what to say to me. A lot of it was based around things that you do in your life. Are you getting enough exercise? Are you smoking? Are you drinking? Are you taking drugs? Are you sort of a lifestyle based questions, just to try and sort of like see if there's any changes you can make? Sort of, are you employed? Are you doing things active that you enjoy? Them sort of based questions, which I was doing. I was doing all of those things. So I left it for a bit. I went back to the CBT again, and same kind of pattern happened. Referred on to see a sort of higher level counsellor, and again, it wasn't really for me. I don't know whether I was expecting something different. Maybe I was searching for answers which I probably wasn't going to get, because the changes that I wanted to make were impossible. I wasn't going to bring my dad back. I wasn't going to grow overnight. But these are maybe the anger sort of side of things, where I was like, I need help, but no one can actually fix my problems. So I'd say if anyone's going through any similar situations, or going through literally anything, well, it's easier said than done. Just remain strong. Please don't try and turn to anything destructive. Please don't sort of just begin smoking, drinking heavily, taking drugs, not exercising, not eating right, because these are the things that are really, really going to impact your life and make it so much better. If you start doing them kind of things, you could be here and end up here. It's better being here, and you try and get as high as you can and just develop your life further. So that's the only thing you can do, is carry on. If you stop, you can't. You have to keep going. It's the only choice you have. Also, if anything did happen to anyone close, a family member, friend, anyone that you think you do actually really care for, please go out of your way to help them. Don't wait for them to maybe get in contact with you. Send in a text maybe to say, here for you, please get in contact if you need me. Instead of that, actively go out of your way to help them. Ring them up, say, I'm coming round, I'm bringing food, I'm coming round to watch the football. What are you doing now? Right, come outside, I'm picking you up, we're going for a walk. Them sort of little things mean so much. They will bring that person up. They will know that actually someone, wow, they actually really do care. And yeah, just say you're coming round, we're watching the football, we're going to spend the night together. We're not watching the clock to see how long I've got left to spend it with you. Them sort of things just mean so much more, rather than waiting for someone to then ask for help and get in contact with their friend, with their family member, that they might not do. I know I probably wouldn't have asked for help, but if someone were to say, Nick, I'm coming round, I'd be like,
yeah, honestly, Nick, I'm actually lost for words, and I love a chat, but for like, this is obviously, it affects me. Anyone who comes on and shares their story is absolutely fantastic, but anyone who is watching and has gone through something similar, or just something tiny, there are people out there to help. There are people who want to share their stories, and this is just a prime example of one person who still today, head up high, gone through a lot of things that no one would ever experience, and he's still here sharing his story and wanting to make that difference to help someone like you who's watching. So again, Nick, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time, and yeah, that's it from me.
no worries.
Yeah, I'll just repeat that as well. Thanks so much for coming on, Nick. Your story's obviously a very special one, and the fact that you've been able to come on here and share that, I know it's going to help so many people. And again, this is why we do this. This is why we set up Pause. It's for people like you. So thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.